Today's recipe really is simple. It might not look it. It might look elevated, it might look fancy. I really hate the word fancy. It doesn't sound like what it should mean.
Well, I don't know, but this does not look like a simple
It's
recipe.
simple technique to elevate the appearance of your food. Maybe there's a few ingredients that you're not familiar with, but this is the pork braid with sauté bok choy. It's a fantastic glazed braided pork. It's just nothing else to say. It's fantastic. Let me show you how to do it. First thing we need to do is get to our pork. Now I have a pork tenderloin. Usually it comes in like a 1 or a 2 pack, but we want the tenderloin because it's tender.
Okay.
It's true. It's true. But I do want to do a little bit of fabrication. Don't let the word fool you. It just means taking an extra step to be excellent. And so if you look really closely, we kind of have a few of these extra pieces, right? We don't need that. Let's go ahead and clean this corner off. But don't worry, it's not going anywhere. We call this a chef's treat. But I do want to clean up my pork a good bit. Now you also notice there's a bit of fat here. Now this is pretty lean, but I want to get rid of some of this just from an appearance standpoint. So just take your knife. A lot of it can be done with just your hands. What we're really looking to get rid of, let me get rid of this little piece here too. And don't, if you buy a piece of protein from the grocery store, don't be afraid to clean it up a little bit. It only takes a little bit of extra time in the beginning. Now this is the part I really want to get after. You'll see they actually did some cleaning here, which is nice, but I want to slide my knife up underneath some of this. This is that connective tissue. It does not congeal, it doesn't break down. It's just very, very chewy. So get your knife up under there, just kind of trace and follow down. You don't have to get rid of all of it, but you can see actually, if you pull real hard, how much it just like holds on. You see it? You see it, CJ?
I'm seeing it.
Yeah, we don't, it's not lovely. It's not lovely. It doesn't give us a good mouthfeel, and we just don't want it, so we're gonna get rid of it. So just very delicately use your knife, slide up underneath that silver skin, and clean up as much of it as you can so we have a beautifully prepped piece of pork. Now, we're gonna take a plastic bag. Essentially what we're looking to do here is we want to flatten it out just a bit. Now again, we haven't done anything difficult yet, right CJ? Nothing difficult. Nothing
not yet.
difficult. All right, we're just taking a little extra time to make sure our presentation looks presentable. Imagine that. So I'm gonna take a fairly heavy pot, and I wanna flatten this out just a little bit. So we're just gonna take the pot, smash it down, be very delicate. You don't wanna break those protein strands. We just wanna flatten it out and even it out a little bit more so we have even cooking, even caramelization, that beautiful appearance. Looks pretty fantastic. All right, now so what we've done is we've evened out. So we have a nice even width or height or depth or, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. Look at it, it's nice and even. So now we're gonna have very even cooking. Before it was a little more tapered at the bottom, kind of tapered off, but now we have a nice even piece of pork. All right, now here comes the fun part. So we flatten it out, gives us some more surface area. We're gonna take our knife and we're gonna make 3 strips, but we're gonna leave this part intact, all right? So take your knife, straight down to the cutting board, but do not cut through this very back piece. Now we're gonna slice through. Might take a couple, just be gentle with it. We're gonna make 3 even slices. Again, this is not changing the flavor, we're just changing the appearance. We're changing how we prepare in the beginning so we have a really cool look at the end. You know how to make a braid, right, CJ?
Definitely.
Yeah, braid's
daughters,
easy.
dude.
I've had sisters.
Yeah.
I totally had to braid their hair. All right, now here comes the really fun part. So we're gonna take our braid. We have 1, 2, 3 pieces. We're gonna start over, oh wait, middle.
You need some help there, guy?
I don't have daughters. Middle, over into the middle. Keep it kind of tight. Over into the middle, over into the middle. You start to see it take shape, right?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Really, really cool. Kind of tuck it in a little bit. Give it some nice tightness. Look at that.
Dude, it kind of turns into a cool loaf.
Super cool. A loaf.
Pork loaf.
It's a little pork loaf.
Although that doesn't sound appetizing at all.
Pork braid sounds cooler.
Yeah, much
all right,
better.
now I'm going to take a toothpick, and at the very end, make sure we have our braid finished. And we're going to take the toothpick and go right through. You might need 1 or 2. We just want to make sure it holds together, just like that. You know what, let's do 1 more, just to make sure we keep that appearance. But you can already see how beautiful it's going to look. That's going to be where we get our sear. Let's do 1 more. We'll kind of go at a little bit of a different angle, and Boom. There you go. Now let's hit this with just a bit of salt and pepper. I'm also gonna have one more ingredient that you might not be familiar with, but it's easy, it's simple. It's ground ginger. What you know about that, CJ?
I know a thing or two.
Ground ginger is pretty phenomenal. Be a little ginger with it, we can add more. We don't want it to burn.
Be ginger with it? See what you did there.
Pick it up and put it down.
Uh-huh.
There we go, you and me. This looks fantastic. We'll season the other side when we get onto the griddle. So speaking of the griddle, I have it preheating medium low. We want to go a little slow with this because the pork needs to fully cook. So let's add just a bit of oil. Use your tongs and let's put that seasoned side down just to make sure we get that beautiful Maillard reaction. This is going to take 9 to 10 minutes or so we don't want to go fast and furious, but we do want that crust. So let's let that cook for 5 or 6 minutes and we'll check back on it. While that is cooking, let's get to our vegetables. I'm gonna start with a bit of sweet yellow onion. You know, we talked about it in the past. I very rarely use anything other than sweet yellow onion. I'm just a fan. The richness that comes out of it once we start cooking with it is really, really something special. So I'm gonna do just a little bit here. You know, it's funny, we're actually using green onion later too. Green onion, sweet yellow onion, very different onion flavor.
Lots of onions going on here.
You know, we've been hanging out a lot with Chef Norman Van Aken, and CJ's mentioned it on a couple of occasions. It just makes my heart sing, CJ.
You know,
he has learned a thing from Norman. One of them is multiple kinds of sweetness, multiple kinds of salty, multiple kinds of savory. So don't be afraid to use 2 different kinds of onions. Very simple, little large dice there. Now this is bok choy. If you've never had bok choy, think of it as, it's like cabbage, but it's a lot heartier. And you'll notice as we start cutting this, when you get down to the white parts at the end, it's a bit rootier. It's got a bit more beefiness to the texture, which is what we want. It stands up to the heat really, really well. So just a nice chop on all of that. You know, we're not going to use it just yet, but since we have the space, let's go ahead and do just a bit of garlic, a nice mince. It doesn't have to be super even. This is a bit more like rustic cooking, so chop up all of that garlic as well. Once we have a gorgeous caramelization, a gorgeous Maillard reaction on that pork, let's give it a flip. Now you can really see where the lines of our braid are starting to show. Just a really fun way to present. Now if you want to, you can slide this to the edge of your griddle just to get a little color on the sides. We still have a few more minutes on that. Let's get to our vegetables. Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but I have shiitake mushrooms. I love shiitake mushrooms. Very beefy, rich flavor. Now on the other side, I'm a medium low. Make sure I'm on low. I don't want to go too hot and heavy. Let's go with a bit of olive oil and a bit of sesame oil. It's that potent, I almost dropped it. Sesame oil is very, very potent, so we only need a touch, just a little bit. A teaspoon, maybe teaspoon and a half. I'm gonna go with all of my shiitakes. And let's hit that with just a bit of salt, a little bit of salt. No pepper, not yet. That's looking good. Give this a toss real quick. Now the reason I'm doing this first is because the mushrooms soak up all of that gorgeous flavor, and I want them to cook and caramelize just a bit before I add actually, you know what, let's add the onions too, but I definitely don't want to add my bok choy yet because there is a good bit of water content, and that will start to leach out and create steam. Steam is the enemy of caramelization. So I want to go just onions and mushrooms for let's do this for 2 or 3 minutes. You'll also notice I have not added the garlic just yet because I don't want it to burn. We're still pretty hot from the pork. We're not crazy hot, but it can still burn because of the sugars in that garlic. Now, once we have a beautiful little bit of caramelization on the onions and the mushrooms, we're gonna add all of our bok choy and give that a gorgeous toss. This is really coming together nicely. The bok choy is gonna get delicate, but still have a crunch. Check our pork too. Give that a twist every once in a while. Don't be afraid to flip more than once, and we're almost there, my friends. I mentioned the garlic, right? The garlic at the end, or toward the end.
You mentioned garlic.
Add the garlic. We don't want it to burn out the garlic. We're also gonna add one last little thing, some tamari. This is gonna give us both some salty, savory, umami flavors. It's also gonna give us a little bit of liquid to toss everything together. Now the last thing I need to do is get to my garnish, which is just some green onions, nice and thinly sliced, and it is time to plate. Let's grab some of that gorgeous bok choy mushroom mix and go right down to the bottom of our plate. Now if you want to, you can slice this pork braid or serve it whole, but I want to add my glaze. Adding like a pre-made glaze is that's a fine cheat. It's a fine hack. Don't worry about it, or make your own little teriyaki sauce, a little stir fry sauce, whatever you like over the top, and that, my friends, is stunning. Hit that with just a little bit of sesame seeds and the green onions, and Bob's your uncle. That's magical. Let's take a bite of that. Oh my goodness. Come on. Come on. It didn't hardly take any much more effort. Hardly didn't
right
take.
Vernacular?
Yup. Whoa. So good. So good. We can't forget about that bok choy. Check this out. Can you hear that? Listen. Hear the crunch?
Still has some bite to it.
Definitely. A little shiitake. Mmm.
Whoa. The clouds are talking.
Crazy good. Whoa. I guess we should be done.
Yeah.
We're going to hammer the rest of this for sure. This is a fun one. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, watch all the other fun shows. But this is Cookie Repeat. I'd like to help you become a better cook one recipe at a time. That's all I've got. All I got, because I'm going to eat all of it. I'll see you guys in the next video.